Hey guys and girls, this is Wally Lampkin again from Triad Powerboats, owner of Triad Powerboats. We're back up today. Uh, Somebody sent me something, asked me, wanted to know who I was and where all this 56 years worth of experience came from. So we're going to share a little history today. But before I do that, um, one of my mentors in this hot rod boat arena celebrated recently his 99th birthday, and he still looks good, looks very well. And I just wanted to say happy birthday, Mr. Paul Allison, because he was one of the first mentors that I had, and he taught me if you would listen to him, he would teach you things. And he was funny, he was a cut up, he was a lot of fun to be around. He'll probably never see this video, but I'm still going to say thank you, Mr. Paul, for what you showed me back in the 60s and what I learned from you. And happy 99th birthday. God bless you. But now on to the kind of background and some history of Triad Powerboats. I got this hot rod boat bug when I was in high school. I was a custom painter in high school, painted for the motorcycle gangs, painted for whoever, did hand lettering, hand pinstriping, painted caricatures of cars, custom painted motorcycles. And I got to play with fiberglass, and matter of fact, I think I was still a senior in high school when I built the plugs for Club Car International, which most of you, if you play golf, you've probably ridden in a Club Car golf cart. Not the one I designed and built for them, but that's how I really got started doing fiberglass work, for somebody else. But in that time, like I said, I did a lot of hand lettering and hand pinstriping on cars. And Harold Bateman is really probably one of the biggest mentors that I had. He owned Bateman Marine in Martinez, Georgia. And he saw a vehicle that I had painted a caricature on and did some hand pinstriping on, come to his shop one day, and he asked the guy that was driving it who did that caricature on that car. And he told him about me, and Bateman Marine called me up and said, hey, we want you to come down here and do something like that on one of our race boats. And I was a hot rod fanatic and an airplane fanatic, still love airplanes. And I loved hot rod boats. And I used to see some of the guys from Bateman Marine. My parents had a place up on Keg Creek, Clark Hill, Clark Hill, Georgia. And I would see some of those people practicing and testing in Allison race boats out there in the water when I was in maybe 9th, 10th grade. And when Mr. Bateman called me up, asked me to come down there and paint on some of their race boats, I went in there, the Bateman Marine, hand lettered Bateman Racing Team on his son's boat, Donald Bateman, who was also a mentor of mine. And I would get out of high school, I fell in love with those boats. And first time I walked in that place and saw that Allison tunnel boat with a wing on the back of it, I said, man, I don't think there's anything cooler than this. And later, my wife Robin raced one of those things, but that's a different story. We'll tell that some other time. But Mr. Bateman, he was a character. He was a lot of fun to be around. And I'd get out of high school, go down there and help them with the race boats, do whatever they wanted to do at night, and go to races with them and just be a pit grunt, you know, change a prop, back a boat in the water, watch them drive. They never would let me drive one of those boats, which aggravated me. But after I did what little I did college-wise, I came back to Augusta, got a good job at Baldwin and Cranston Engineers, and made enough money. I went back up to Bateman Marine and ordered my first brand new personal boat, 13-foot Allison with a 65 on it. And I just bought it to play with and have fun, learn how to drive it. And Mr. Bateman also had a lake house on Clark Hill Lake in Keg Creek, which is where I was. And he would see me run that boat. And one day, you know, I didn't mess around with them a lot after I bought my own boat. They kind of picked on me. And but he'd watch me drive that boat on the lake. And one weekend they had a boat race at Keg Creek. And matter of fact, I actually have I gave it to somebody, gave it away to somebody. It's more important than them was to me. I have the actual program of that boat race that was run at Petersburg Point at Clarksville, Georgia. And I just rode up there to see who was there, because I had been to a bunch of the races, like I said, as a pit grunt while I was in high school. Been to Eufaula, Alabama, to the APBA Nationals twice. Went to the NOA Nationals probably twice when I was in high school. And, you know, like I said, I was just a pit grunt, but I learned a lot. I paid attention. And Mr. Bateman watched me run my personal Allison at the lake. And I rode up there to see who was there at that particular. I rode up there on a Thursday or a Friday, I can't remember which one. See who was at the race site. And it was Earl Bentz, Reggie Fountain, Leo Cox, Alan Stinson, Mark Crosland, just a bunch of big names. And of course, the Bateman racing team, they had 4 or 5 boats. I mean, people loved to invite Harold to every race they had, because he showed up, there's 5 boats right there. But I went up there to the racetrack just in my boat, bathing suit on, a pair of flip-flops. You know, I was young, I had an S on my chest. I didn't need no life jacket. I mean, I had one, but I didn't really wear it. But I should have, but I went up there to see who was there, and Mr. Bateman said, look, I watched you drive that boat. He said, go out there and run around that course. And he said, I don't mean just ride around. He said, I mean act like you racing. I said, okay. He said, come back and tell me if there's anything wrong with the way the course is set up. Of course, we were doing clock starts back then. Or they did. I wasn't racing yet. I was just having fun. And I had my little 13-foot Allison, said Cheap Thrills on the side of it. Didn't have a number on it. Didn't say Bateman Marine, didn't say anything but Cheap Thrills on the side of it. That I hand lettered on there. And I went out there and ran that course, came back close to the boat ramp, and he said, go out there and run it again, hard as you can. So I went out there and did it again, hard as I could. I came back, he's holding the stopwatch in his hand. He said, Wally, you need to race that boat. I said, Mr. Bateman, I'm just having fun. I don't know if I want to, I've been to y'all with the races. I don't know if I want to do all that. I'm just having a good time. He said, if you'll race that boat Saturday and Sunday, he said, I'll buy you gas, I'll pay you entry fee, I'll give you the oil you need. And Saturday I had to race against Rourke Summerford, Joe Burgess, another guy from the boat barn up in Rome, Georgia. It was a teammate of Rourke's, and Bobby Graham from Wilmington North, a bunch of, and Harold had, told me how to drive, and but they never let me drive a race boat. But I learned how to drive my house, and I said, well, I'd think about it. So I showed up the next morning. I didn't even bring my truck or my trailer. I just left my place at Keg Creek, drove the boat up to the race site. And he came walking down. I parked it on the bank down there in a little cove. He came down there. He said, "Why are you gonna race that boat?" I said, "I guess so. Why not?" And he said, "We gotta have a life jacket and a helmet." I said, "Well, I got a life jacket." He said, "Well, I'll borrow you a helmet." And he said, "Did you rig that?" Because I rigged the boat myself. Me and a friend of mine, we actually rigged it at Hayes Marine, which was Mr. Bateman's biggest competitor. But my buddy worked over there, and we rigged it at night, me and him. And I'd rigged Brace Allison's over at Bateman Marine, and I, just knocking around with them, so I knew how to do it. And Harold had worked my propeller for me, and he was a propeller genius, literally. And he got me a helmet. I went back to my little campsite and got my life jacket, came back up there. He said, "You got a kill switch in that boat?" I said, "Yes, sir. I rigged it just like we used to rig Allison race boats in your shop, your business." He said, "Okay, you're going to have to go through safety inspection." I said, "Well, I didn't bring a trailer. Can they do it?" He said, "Yeah, they'll just come down there and look in your boat." And so I went out there and raced. First time I ever raced. And I outrun everybody. And nobody could believe it. Who's this kid? Just shows up. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows who I am. I outrun Joe Burgess, Rourke Summerford, Bobby Graham, and one other guy. Came in first place. I think I won $80. And I was thrilled. I was ecstatic. Next day we had to run marathon. That meant every V-bottom that was there was in the same class, from my little 65 up to BP stackers on 15-foot Allisons, and everything in between, for 1 hour. And about 35 minutes into that thing, I started praying to God that it would rain, because I wanted to get out of that hard fiberglass seat. It was eating the skin off my back. But I won that race in my class. Of course, I didn't finish in first place overall. One of the BP stacker boats did that. Probably Mike Gavalis. But that's how I got started. And I guess the next time we get on here, I'll tell you, like Paul Harvey said, the rest of the story. And, you know, how Triad powerboats evolved out of all that. And I know a lot of you are new. You probably don't know who I am. So we want to give you some background, and then when I get out of this wheelchair and I get to go play at the shop and get dirty, we'll do some educational stuff and do some safety stuff, show you how to see if your lower unit, somebody put the nose cone on right or wrong, where the point ought to be, and is it straight left to right. We'll talk about propellers. We're going to do a lot of things, so I want you to stay tuned with this, and I want to make sure you get on, you know, log in to this channel on YouTube, hit that like button, and subscribe, and make comments if you want to, and share it with as many friends, hot rod boat friends you got, because it's going to get a lot better than what I'm doing right now. I mean, I just am limited to what I can do while I'm stuck in this thing. But hopefully I'll be out of it pretty soon. But I want to thank you for tuning in and watching. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.